Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we do a fall porch refresh. So let's go. Even though it's early September here in New Hampshire in my Zone 5B garden, it definitely feels like fall. Where you live, it might be spring, or where you live, you might be experiencing very hot temperatures. Our temperatures are cooling down. Daytime temperatures are in the 70-degree Fahrenheit range. Nighttime temperatures are dipping down in the 40-degree Fahrenheit range. Since fall is in the air, I am ready to give my porch a refresh. I wanted to step back a little bit just to give you a little perspective. This is my side walkway, and it leads to this side porch. It's a covered porch, and this is where we enter and exit the house the most. And right near it, there are a number of flower beds, which are full of color, but I want my porch to also be full of color and to be a little more festive. I don't want to bother with the plants that are currently on the porch. I want to leave them as is for right now. And I want to tackle this project on a budget. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to switch out these pillows that I have. I put these pillows out in the springtime, and they're perfect for spring into the summer months. I have other pillows that I bought years ago for the fall, so let's go ahead and replace these pillows. I feel like pillows just make a big difference when it comes to outdoor decor. And I like to buy a lot of my pillows from places like Walmart or even on Amazon. A lot of times if you buy them locally at stores, you can get them on discount at the end of the season, marked down 50, even 75% off. And also, if you buy a pillow once, like a certain size, let's say 12 inches, you can just buy the slip covers that go over the pillow. In fact, that's what I've done. I have slip covers that I'll be putting out here in the future for the holidays around Christmas time, and then also later in the season for Valentine's Day. What I especially like about these pillows is I think they look great during the months of September, October, and all the way through November. And to be honest with you, if I just stopped here, I would be happy with the small little change, but we have other changes we're going to do. Doors are another thing that are fun to decorate. You can always just add some sort of a hook at the top of the door, and with that hook you can reuse it for many different seasons, and then you can buy a lot of different wreaths that you can put up, or you can make your own. This wreath came from my late mother-in-law's home, and so I like to just use it on my door. And even though it has a pumpkin on it, again, it can last me through the months of September, October, and November. And then come the winter holidays, I can put something different up. Here's another wreath that came from her house. We're going to go ahead and replace the star that I've had here pretty much all summer with this wreath. I like to organize all my seasonal decorations in these large totes. In fact, you can often find totes like these at the end of Christmas. They'll mark them down, which is why it's a green and red color. And I have a label maker, and I labeled each of my totes with the season. So for example, this tote is labeled Halloween/fall. I'm going to go through two of the totes that I brought upstairs from my basement, and I'm going to pull out anything I think would look pretty on the porch. I'm all about recycling and reusing. You eventually start to accumulate things as the years go on. I have children that are now college age, and last year I went through the boxes that I had, and I picked out just the decorations that I wanted to keep. And I first started with sentimental decorations that came from either my late mother-in-law's home or that came from my late mom. And those to me are more meaningful than really anything I could buy in a store. But then there are a few things that I had bought that I held on to. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all placed, and I'm going to show you what they look like when I'm all done. Simple yet sweet. I really am enjoying all the little things that we've put up here. Right next to my door is this little black table. So I was able to put some of the bigger decorations on the top of the table. And then on the center, look how sweet these are. I just put those little birds on the center. I didn't even bother with wiping down the table. It really, to be honest with you, it's just going to get dusty over time anyway, so it's not that important to me. And then I also have a couple of really pretty little pumpkins. And then on either side are just these two little decorations. Since they're tall and they could fall over easily, I just nestled them on either side of the table. And then as we swing around right near this chair here, I put the other matching little scarecrow. I didn't change the doormat. It's the same doormat that I've had here all summer. And I want you to notice how it not only can be applied for summertime, it's also perfect into the fall months. And it blends nicely with everything here. But if you wanted to, you could definitely buy a festive doormat for this time of year. And then between the two pillows here, I put a scarecrow. It will stay nice and dry because when it does rain outside, it won't get my scarecrow wet. And that's why I chose to put it over there and not over here, because this area tends to get a little more wet when it rains. And then on this table in the center here, I have this little runner. I usually would keep it indoors, but for this year I wanted to keep it outdoors. I thought it would look really pretty here. And then down below, again, these are just decorations right here at least that I had when my kids were younger. And I recently lost my little black cat, so this cat that I've had for a number of years even means more to me now. It reminds me of my kitty, Abby. So the next thing that I want to do, the final thing actually, is I just want to make a couple of beautiful flower arrangements, only because I have space. I have a small little table here. I thought that a flower arrangement would look pretty there, and then we could put another one on this table here. The flowers we're going to harvest are just here, right near the porch actually. And I have some beautiful hydrangeas. They are in their prime. So I figured we could come here and take some of the hydrangea blooms, because look how pretty they would look. And then just past the hydrangeas, we have some black-eyed Susans. I thought those would look really pretty in our arrangement. And then another flower that's looking very pretty right now is great blue lobelia. I think most likely that's all we're going to do. We're going to keep it very simple. There are quite a few things that still look nice here in my late summer, early fall garden, but I want to keep our arrangement very simple. This beautiful hydrangea is called Vanilla Strawberry, and I love its color. I just think it's so pretty, and the blooms are huge. So we really don't need many pieces of it to fill a small little vase that I have for these. I'm just going to cut a few to start with, and if we need more, we can always come back. I'm not one to cut my flowers. I usually just leave them in the landscape and enjoy them. But I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to really enjoy my flowers, take it one step further. And just by cutting a few flowers and putting them in a vase can make such a difference, I feel, on a porch. So what I'm doing is I'm just removing all the bottom leaves, because I don't want the leaves to be in the water. I want my flowers to stay as fresh as possible for as long as possible. I filled this vase up with water, and I'll just be good about changing the water out every 1 to 2 days. I also didn't worry too much about picking the hydrangeas at the exact right time. This is the exact right time for me. They look really pretty, and the big thing is to cut them down so that they fit in this vase. If you're like me and you don't cut your flowers, you just enjoy them in your garden, I encourage you to just cut a few today. Put them in a vase and put them somewhere where you can enjoy them. You may feel the way I do. You may think differently about your flowers. There are so many different kinds of hydrangeas out there. This vanilla strawberry is especially pretty to me. I really think it's beautiful with the panicle that it has, and not only that, but the multiple colors that are on there. Although with that said, it definitely can be a bit of a diva. If you don't prune the hydrangea just right, she will flop on you once these huge blooms start appearing. And I'm definitely packing in these hydrangeas in this small little vase. I only cut 3 flowers and I just put them in there. What I want to do now is just step back with you. I want to see what it looks like, and I can always adjust things accordingly. So here I am with you, and honestly, I think that looks really pretty. I'm not going to change a thing. I think just by adding that small amount of color just makes such a big impact. And I think that that vase is the right size for the flowers. Those flowers are very big. Really, I don't need to add anything else to that vase. I just think it looks beautiful the way it is. For the next arrangement, it's a larger vase, and I wanted to use the other hydrangea. This hydrangea is called Quickfire Hydrangea. You can see that it has a little bit different of a form or habit to it compared to vanilla strawberry. They both are so pretty. They're different and yet beautiful. So let's go ahead and we'll take some of these and then we'll add to our arrangement that we're going to make. I might as well cut from the back because I want the blooms to still look really pretty on the front side of this hydrangea. I'm just trying to take my cuts above a set of leaves so that it still looks like I didn't do anything to my hydrangea when I make my cuts. We're only going to start with 2, and then we can always come back and take more if we need to, but let's go ahead and get some other flowers. Here we have the beautiful Black-Eyed Susan, or Rebecca. I love this color. I think it's going to look so pretty on the porch because it's such a vibrant, bright color. Even though this is starting to just go by, it still has a little bit of color left to it. It is called the Great Blue Lobelia. It's a beautiful native plant here in New Hampshire. Sometimes I feel less is more. So let's just start with what we have and get this arrangement together. I'm going to start with the Quickfire Hydrangea and get those put in first. I think those will look really pretty. And I wanted to share, sometimes it's nice to just have a slow day like today. Just do something small that can make you happy, that can make some sort of an impact. I'm putting my hydrangea in the vase. I want to check the height of it. I can tell it's a little too tall, so now I can cut it shorter. I made a very small cut at the base just to check the height again. I'd rather make smaller cuts along the way than a larger cut. I think that's good for now, so we'll leave it, and we can always cut it more if we need to. I woke up this morning feeling like I need to spruce up my porch. I just want to be able to come to my home or leave my home and see a little bit of late summer, early fall. And that one's perfect. Now let's go ahead and add some of the Rebecca. After removing the bottom leaves, all I want to do is just put this in here and check the height of it. And I'm going to put a whole bunch of them in there and keep checking the height, and I can always cut them shorter if need be. Years ago, I used to cut zinnias and put them on my porch during the summer months, and I really loved doing that. One of my garden goals for next year is to grow zinnia because it's been a few years since I've grown zinnia, and I want to cut them and just enjoy them. I feel like they're so simple, so plain, all by themselves. You don't need to add anything else. What I love about the Rebecca is that it blooms for such a long time. If you don't have this plant in your garden, I recommend it. And this is the perennial version of Rebecca. I'm learning this year more than ever, it's nice to have flowers blooming at different times of the year. So if you do want to make a small little bouquet for yourself, then you have plenty to choose from. I especially love this Great Blue Lobelia. It's just such a pretty color this time of year. There are a lot of spent buds at the bottom. I'm just removing those. And like I mentioned, my video is not meant to be a tutorial on how to make a cut flower arrangement. It's not really something that I normally do. I just felt like doing a few simple ones for my porch because I just thought it would add a little bit of color to my porch this time of year. Another flower I could have added if I wanted to was the purple coneflower, or Echinacea purpurea. It still looks fairly pretty, and I think it would also be a nice one to add to a flower arrangement this time of year. Okay, I'm going to step back with you. I just want to see how things are looking. We can always move some flowers around or add additional flowers if need be. I actually think it came out really nice. We have little pops of the yellow, and then we also have the pops of the blue as well as the pink. If I wanted to, I could add one more hydrangea right here, because I'm noticing as I turn this that we have pink over here, we have pink over here. We could use a little bit over here. Let me go ahead, cut off another hydrangea, and I'll add it right here. And I think that looks just perfect. And this is how the side porch project turned out for late summer, early fall. I am very, very pleased with how it came out, and I hope that this video inspired you or gave you some sort of idea of something you can do, something very simple that doesn't cost a lot of money to make a big impact on a space in your yard. And it doesn't have to be a porch. It could be a mudroom. It could be when someone enters your home. But it's just such a nice sign of welcoming people to your home or welcoming yourself to your home. I hope you enjoyed this porch refresh project, and let me know what are some things that you like to do when it comes to refreshing a space in your yard. Please drop it down in the comment section below, and until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.